Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, this is 1975's The Mob. 1975's The Mob, also known as La Gamique, French. This is a Canadian film, I believe specifically Montreal, and we're going to talk about this really fascinating film right here. Jacques Godbout's The Mob. Sorry to my French viewers. Let's get into this 1975 film. You're going to see my eyes divert as I have written notes down. Now, right off the bat, the sound of a dog barking can evoke so many different feelings. Sometimes it can be the sound of a fall night in the distance, and it can be comforting. And at other times, it can be very disconcerting or annoying even, ready to call the cops on your neighbors, right? Or terrifying. You're not sure where it's coming from. It seems close by. It's nighttime. Moody rock music with unbelievable voice work. Mysterious and looming. Flashes of imagery in the edit. There's an energy and a pulse and a rhythm to the edit. There's a power. Vibes of giallo films. Vibes of modern Tarantino films. Giallo music vibes. The themes of secrets, money, behind someone's back. There are some very interesting gender issues in this film between men and women with male dominance and evoking an essence of male dominance and the way that men view romance in superiority and in their way of communicating. There's a quote in here that an educated woman is one who shuts up. That's a quote from one of the characters in the film towards a woman. We have very interesting theme of Canada versus the United States. But see, people from the United States wouldn't be normally watching or accessing this film. So this is outsider cinema for Americans or anybody from another country other than Canada, it seems. And so you're getting an insider perspective on the relationship, the way Canadians view Americans and the way Americans view Canadians, but specifically the way Canadians view Americans. We have some beekeeping and honey making. We have some very interesting racial issues dealing with white men and black women. A character in the film says being with a black woman, the color could rub off on you. Now, if you dig into that, you get a chance to see a little bit of the deeper complexities of these characters. In these same conversations, they mentioned that house decorators are great, and they're typically gay. And that's another perspective. So we also have not only gender issues, racial issues, but also sexuality issues in the themes of these characters. Champagne and horse track racing, gambling. One of the Canadian characters says Italians like to flirt. Be careful. So perspectives on other ethnicities as well, not just America as a country, but also Italians. the idea of walking on eggshells with stories and lies. This movie's called The Mob. It's like you wanna walk on eggshells. Have you ever had a friend or a significant other where you had to walk on eggshells? Maybe a family member. Can you imagine living like that every day, no matter where you are? Protecting your story, jealousy, and power, and money, and fear. There's looming danger, 70s music erupting. Male dominance as normal over women. That theme resides. Where men are not only the figures of this story, they seem to represent the figures of existence. There's always someone better. The dilemma of crime. There's always someone better. When someone wants to finish you, they will. The most powerful use is someone's mouth. Not their body, not their weapons, it's their mouth. Because they can then make people believe anything. No trust in anyone. Imagine living, walking on eggshells with no trust in anyone. Play the game and look wealthy. People always do that. Even poor people. You want to appear a certain way. We see that in social media in our modern era with influencers and the like. Why do you want to appear that way? What is the power in appearing wealthy or beyond your means? A piece of it is you're not normal. But by lying, you're not normal because normal is bad. But by lying, you're trying to make a new normal. And now everybody feels inadequate. And now everybody thinks that they are less. And so they must do what you're doing. But what you're doing is a lie. So none of it's true. What's true is a messy house. A dirty bathroom that you could never keep up with. Fruit that's constantly rotting and that you have to throw out. Is criminality genetic? Is it nature or nurture? Being a criminal. Late night radio. I love late night radio. There was a Tales from the Crypt episode. No. Was it Tales from the Dark Side? I think it was Tales from the Dark Side, the Ben Stiller's dad from King of Queens TV show and everything. But there was an episode, any movies with late night radio, amazing. I think of the 1980s Trick or Treat film with Gene Simmons. But so many, and one that I'm going to mention soon. The violence from both sides. The violence from police, the violence from criminals. What's better, what's worse? The pulse and the friend of the radio. Reminds me of that film Vanishing Point as well, where the radio is the heartbeat of reality. It's the heartbeat of the film. is the radio media, because today in our modern era, media is the heartbeat, whether or not it's true or not true. But it seems like in the 70s, the radio stations that were in the films, they were true. They were the heartbeat of reality. Like an underground zine, you're gonna go there to get the real info. I remember a time in my younger years where I was living alone and I would sleep to the radio, talk radio. And there was a comfort to that, like you weren't alone. Unfortunately, I picked the wrong station on a particular night, and I woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I didn't realize that there was a show on AM of some like supernatural. You call about your supernatural problems, and then like there was like audio of a supposed exorcism, and I was like, listen, I don't need this. I'm trying to sleep. Scared the crap out of me. So I had to like figure out a way to know what was being broadcasted all night long. Cool station, just not for sleep. The music, it's like haunting voices and violins. Are you serious? Like this composed music is incredible. It's incredible. It's so complex and feeling, and the voice work. You want to know how to use voices in a score? You'll see that a lot in European cinema, especially from the 70s, even giallos again, right? The movie Psycho 4. The Psycho series, as I've stated on this channel, is my favorite horror franchise. And this movie has a lot to do with Psycho 4 in many ways. In the power of the radio. And the radio as a strong element, a character in the film. Late night driving in this film. When you have nothing to lose, what happens? The decisions we make when we get to the point where we say we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't, we have nothing to lose. Problem is, oftentimes, we superimpose one of those sides or both of them. We think that we're just going to do something rash because we're damned if we do or damned if we don't. But maybe we're not as damned as we think, but we're superimposing that victim status on ourselves, and then we have an excuse to do stupid garbage. So it's a dangerous thing. But life has a lot of situations where there's, as I've gotten older, I've realized life is not, you have a good choice and a bad choice. Pick the good choice. No. Life is typically two crappy choices. Which one is better? You don't want to tell a kid that, but you'll learn it naturally as you get older, I think. And it's how you can deal with that which will dictate if you're going to have mental issues, if you're going to be able to handle life. It's not easy. Do criminals have morals? You see this when you watch a lot of gangster films or serial killer films, or basically just horror films in general. Life is not as easy as saying, that person, killed all these people, killed their whole family. They have no morals. Unfortunately, life's not that black and white all the time, because that person probably has morals. Very specific. You know, cleanliness is next to godliness. Maybe they have that, so they would make sure that when they killed their family, the blood, everything was neat and clean, and that their bones and body parts were put away in an organized fashion, because cleanliness is next to godliness. You'll see this a lot in the mafia films as well. Do criminals have morals? This movie, just called The Mob, is not what you're expecting. This is not what you're expecting. A movie called The Mob. And The Mob in Canada? Sure, here it is. From 1975, Canadian cinema, Montreal. You know, Montreal, Quebec. I think it's Montreal that they mention the most in here. But this movie might be different than any mob movie you've ever seen. And the ending of this film, there's something very, very special about it. Because like the best of 70s cinema, you might not get the ending you want.